Hi everyone, it's been good. It's good to be back and take a masterclass. I've been traveling for a bit, so I got this opportunity today. I wanted to talk to a lot of you who have been messaging me, about Luke, I diet, I'm sleeping better, I'm working out every day, but yet I can't get rid of abdominal fat. I'm eating a healthy diet, but I have cysts and I have fibroids. I'm constantly irritable, I'm constantly getting frustrated, mood swings, all of these problems, tired all the time, even though I'm sleeping. And some of you say that I'm working out, eating, and I have a problem sleeping. So while you try to isolate all of these problems, I thought you understanding how your hormones work, that's where the solution is. Okay, there are too many people doing diet plans, too many people changing their workouts because they're not losing weight. While exercise is important, and that's a fundamental that we need to be consistent with. While nutrition is also important, we need to understand that there is some wrong communication happening in the body. If, despite you doing all the right things, you're still putting on weight or you can't lose weight. So a lot of people like to blame it on menopause, or they like to blame it on premenopause, or they like to blame it on PCOS and all of that stuff. And yes, you can be right, because the underlying cause is a hormonal imbalance. What we're going to understand is today, when you have a crystal clear understanding of how stress impacts you, the health of your liver impacts you. The use of so many cosmetics today that's in our homes in the form of toilet fragrances and all of this. You would have heard this all over the years. But you need to understand the seriousness of this, especially when your diet and your workouts are no longer working for you. You have to start giving some amount of consideration to the smaller parts. So we're going to understand today exactly what is going on in your body. And this could also be I'm also going to explain to you why a lot of women find it difficult to conceive today, and why, a lot of women have miscarriages as well. So it's all interconnected with your hormonal health, wrong communication. Now for men, certain parts of this will also be relevant to men who are struggling to lose belly fat. They have a lot of belly fat, they're getting muscular, their biceps are getting better, their shoulders, their back, but this belly fat just stays there no matter what. Then they go into stricter diets, but they start to put on more belly fat because the problem is not food alone. The problem are your hormones. So let's understand how this works. Hormones are chemical messengers. What are some of the hormones that you have? Cortisol, your stress hormone, adrenaline, you have estrogen, you have progesterone, you have testosterone, you have thyroxine. Yes, people who have a thyroid problem have a hormonal imbalance because it's either too little thyroxine or too much, which is an imbalance. Insulin. So yes, diabetes is a metabolic disease as well, which involves your hormones. It's not just about your blood sugar levels, it's about your hormonal balance. So the people who reverse their thyroid, the people who reverse their type 2 diabetes, the people who start to lose belly fat, the people who go through a graceful menopause, these are the people who have put in the fundamental of hormonal balance, not just more exercise, not just more dieting. So these are some of your hormones, DHEA, all of them together. Now you understand hormones fluctuate. A woman will relate to this at the start and end of your period cycle. One hormone goes up, another one goes down, and it changes as you go through your cycle. It changes as you go through pregnancy. All of that happens in fluctuations. The hormone that I want to pick out of all these today and talk about is estrogen. Now, estrogen is a great hormone. Let's not look at it negatively. Estrogen is what gives, the shape of a hip to a woman. It helps with childbirth. It helps a woman prevent osteoporosis. It protects the bones. It's great for your hair. It's great for your skin. It communicates with your immune system. All of these it's great for breast development, lactation, all of these things. So estrogen is necessary. It's a great hormone like every other hormone. The problem is when you have too much of it. A lot of that belly fat you see, a lot of it is stored estrogen. When you have more estrogen in your body than you require, it has to be stored somewhere. It gets stored in your fat cells. And your fat cells try to secrete excess estrogen into your blood. That sends a signal to your fat cells to actually store more estrogen. So it becomes a vicious cycle. That's why you can lose a little bit of weight and put it back on again. And you lose a little bit of weight and you put it back on again. So we're going to break this down further today and talk about estrogen dominance, because it's not just about your weight. Today, there are estrogen dominant diseases out there. In ER positive breast cancer, endometrial cancers, which is excess estrogen, uterine fibroids, cysts in the breast, fibroids in the breast, all of these excess estrogen. So while we know we need estrogen in the body, too much of it is a problem. Now, where does this come in? How do you flush out all of this excess estrogen? First, let's understand what some of your symptoms could be. You could have irregular or heavy periods. That's one of the most common symptoms. You could have water retention. No matter how clean your diet is, you wake up puffy every day, your face is puffy, your finger rings can't fit on or you can't get them off. You have water retention in your feet, all of that. Breast swelling and tenderness. This can happen during your period, more pronounced, or even when you're not on your period at all. Your breasts will feel more tender, they'll seem to be more swollen. You would be aware of that. A lot of headaches and even migraines or migraines can be caused with excess estrogen. We need to understand this. That's why just popping a pill for a headache or migraine, take it if it's going to give you relief. But how many are you going to take? At some point, you're going to have to address the root cause of the problem. Then we have fibroids, we have cysts, all of these things. Every cyst and fibroid is not a dangerous thing. Your doctor or your gynac may ask you to do an ultrasound just to check that the size isn't growing. And then there's nothing that you need to do about it unless it's growing. Then it's different. Weight gain, especially in the abdominal area, the midriff area, your legs, your thighs, everything seems to be good, but this weight in your center, your abdominal center is growing. Your body is trying to tell you that you have estrogen dominance, okay? Now, it can be two ways. It doesn't mean you have to have all these symptoms. I know girls and I know women who have great period cycles, but yet they have abdominal fat that they cannot lose. Okay, so it doesn't have to be everything. Some of them don't have water retention. So you could fit into all, one, or many of them. Hair loss, huge one. Today, everyone's just spending more and more money on shampoos and conditioners. Do that. But is it really fixing your problem? Or do you have a problem of estrogen dominance in your system that you need to take care of? Mood swings again, because every hormone controls your mood, your neurotransmitters that we're going to talk about. That's your serotonin, the feel-good hormone, your dopamine, which is your reward molecule, your oxytocin, which is the love hormone or the cuddle hormone. All these neurotransmitters are controlled by hormones, communicators. Painful periods and, of course, PMS, very heavy PMS can cause and be linked to too much of estrogen in the human body. Okay, now what does this extra estrogen do to you? It affects sugar metabolism. If our bodies can't break down sugar the right way, it's getting stored as fat. It's leading to prediabetes. It's leading to diabetes because you have too much of blood sugar levels. Your insulin isn't enough to manage your blood sugar levels. And that's why you get type 2 diabetes. And then sometimes you move from a tablet to insulin. Okay, excess estrogen also affects fat buildup and fat breakdown in the body. To lose fat, we got to burn it. We have to break down fat in order. It needs to be metabolized into energy. That's how you lose fat. But estrogen doesn't allow this to happen. It affects your energy levels. You feel constantly tired and fatigued. No matter how well you slept at night, what you ate, you feel this lethargy throughout your day, extreme fatigue, which then leads to irritability and everything else. It's required for your neurotransmitter production. So if you have too much of estrogen or too little of another hormone, it affects your neurotransmitters. If you don't have the right amount and quality of neurotransmitters, you can't feel good. So there are a lot of girls and women and men who say, oh, we have everything, but we just can't feel good. We feel sad all the time. We just feel so like nothing excites us anymore. You have less neurotransmitters. You can't feel good if you don't have the feel good neurotransmitter. So all of this is linked with that. And then, of course, there are breast cancers and uterine fibroids, thyroid dysfunction. So when we have a thyroid patient, we also are looking for estrogen dominance in that body, because to fix the thyroid gland, we have to fix the hormonal balance, which is your estrogen levels. So these are some of the things involved with too much of estrogen. Now, what causes it and what can we do? So we're going to extract a couple of things today that we can learn. Number one being stress. Okay, I'm not going to preach to you about why stress is bad for you. I'm not going to try to motivate you not to be stressed, because stress is real in everyone's life. I just want you to understand this with crystal clear clarity today. Okay, because a lot of us like to say, oh, everyone has stress and you don't do anything about it. Yes, everyone has stress, but what are you doing about it? Because it's causing you a problem. So this is what happens. Okay, there's a lot of science, biology, anatomy involved in what happens when you're stressed. So picture this. You have adrenal glands that are seated on the top of your kidney. When we get stressed, It could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be something we're watching on television, it could be news, it could be social media. When we get stressed, how does the body know to move into stress mode? Your adrenal glands start to produce a hormone called cortisol. By now, you know a hormone is a chemical messenger. These chemical messengers are produced in tissues all over the body, and then they get into your bloodstream. They move around communicating. Do this, do that, put this on, put that off, upregulate, downregulate. Okay, constant communication. So if you have the wrong communication, what's happening? Anything can be going wrong in your body. If you have the right communication, you have harmony. If you have the wrong communication, you have disharmony. So now when we let's say, let's use an example. Okay, I just got some bad news. All right, I hear it or I see it. I read it or I hear it. Okay, now my body, my heart rate goes up. There's a little bit of fear and anxiety, which is a survival mechanism. The body, adrenal glands will start to produce cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Great for us, good for us, beautiful. Cortisol and adrenaline will now send messages. Increase Luke's heart rate, increases blood pressure, increase blood flow to his muscles, move blood flow away from digestion to the muscles, because now you're in the fight and flight response. You need energy to fight or to flee. So if you've just eaten a meal and I'm stressed out, I want blood to go to my stomach for digestion. And now because I'm stressed, it moves away from my digestion and it moves towards my muscles. So now my digestion is compromised. That's absolutely fine because I'm in stress mode. I'm not supposed to be digesting my meal when I'm in a fight response, which is the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, now my neurotransmitters start firing messages and I'm alert. I'm alert, even though I may be sleep deprived. Right now, I'm on alert because of the adrenaline and the cortisol. Now what happens? This is beautiful. Okay, I read the news or whatever stressed me out and I realize, okay, there's a solution in 5 minutes. It's good. The problem is over. Cortisol drops, adrenaline drops, my blood pressure comes back to normal, my cholesterol levels settle, my pulse rate comes back to normal, blood flow now will start moving towards my digestive system to complete digestion, and I'm in a relaxed state. I've moved from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. In this system, we can rest better and sleep better, and we can digest better. You cannot rest and digest when you're in the sympathetic nervous system because the hormones for that function is completely different. It's keeping you on alert. So if you try to sleep when you're in the sympathetic nervous system, it's practically impossible. You may be physically tired, but you fall asleep, but it's not a deep sleep because you're in the wrong system. That's why we have to calm down, deep breathe, move from sympathetic to parasympathetic, then we can digest our food and we can sleep better. So coming back to stress, now here's what happens in your body. I got stressed today, perfectly fine. I get stressed tomorrow a couple of times, fine. What happens when the stress is chronic? I wake up to stress, I have stress throughout the day, I go to sleep with stress, I go to a job I don't like or a toxic environment at work. So for now, 12 hours, I'm in a toxic environment where I'm constantly on alert, sympathetic nervous system, producing more and more cortisol. Come home, then now there's a toxic relationship or there's a problem in the family. Cortisol is high. After a while, the adrenal glands cannot produce more cortisol. Cortisol is depleted. Now, what does your body do? Because your body is intelligent. It is beautifully intelligent. It starts to steal a hormone called progesterone to make more cortisol because you're depleting it. So it's going to compensate. So all of your hormones, all of these hormones are sex hormones: estrogen, testosterone, progesterone. So now as my cortisol starts to get lesser and lesser because I'm depleting it so much, because I'm chronically stressed, my body will start to steal progesterone to make more cortisol. Now, because I have less progesterone, because it's being used to make cortisol, what happens? I have an imbalance. Estrogen shoots up. So my chronic stress is producing more estrogen. Now, this estrogen has to be stored somewhere, or it's got to be released from the body. So it gets stored in your fat cells. And now your fat cells have so much of estrogen, they try to secrete it out of your system. And that signals, because a hormone, it's a chemical communicator. It now sends a communication to your body to build more fat cells because it needs to store more estrogen. And that's why the weight continues to increase in your abdominal area while you're losing more weight everywhere else. So this is what I want you to understand, that your chronic stress is doing this. Now, because you have low progesterone, not only do you have high estrogen, you can't conceive. You can't have a baby if you have low progesterone, right? So now you may go in for bioidentical hormones and IVFs and all of that. I don't have a problem with that. But have you tried addressing the root cause of the problem, which is stress? And that explains hundreds and hundreds of women that we have over the years who have given birth to babies without IVFs. We just encourage them and coach them to reduce their stress. A lot of them who are stuck in toxic environments in their own cities, we ask them to go abroad and try to conceive, which means go make love with your husband and see, you may have a chance. And you won't believe it, by only changing the location, the couple was able to conceive because the hormones were in balance. And of course, there are genuine cases where your hormones may really be messed up because of so many other things, medications, medical disorders, and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to show you the impact of chronic stress on how it impacts conception, how it impacts your overall weight. And now, because you have overall weight and fat cells, what does that impact? Your blood sugar levels. So now you're pre-diabetic, or you start to get insulin resistant, and then you get diabetes, and then you're on medication, and you still haven't addressed the root cause of the problem, which is estrogen dominance related to stress. So this is the number one reason why most people have estrogen dominance, because of stress. We're not going to talk about stress management. We've done masterclasses on that. You could just refer to them, or Tina will send them to you. But you need to first accept and understand that your chronic stress is creating all of these problems. So yes, an ER-positive breast cancer patient, you can literally say that they've gone through some deeply rooted emotional stress for a long period of time, not just before the cancer. It could be happening 2 years before they even got the cancer. The same thing with ovarian issues, endometriosis, endometrial cancers, or whatever it is. The second thing, let's move now to the liver. You would be saying, what does the liver have to do with this? We did a whole masterclass or a video on liver. The liver has over 500 functions. One of its main functions is fat metabolism. But if your liver is inflamed, or your liver is constantly trying to move out all the excessive alcohol, pollutants from the air that we breathe, pesticides from the food that we ate, the medication that we're taking, everything goes through your liver. It puts fat burning on the back burner because it's not important. Your liver's first importance is to flush out all the toxicity from your body. So you need to understand that your liver plays a huge role. And that's why when people have compromised livers or fatty livers, it affects their digestion. It affects the production of bile because of the gallbladder. So you see, everything is interdependent. Now there's a bigger function coming back to estrogen. Okay, number one, you have a compromised liver, so you're not burning fat. Number two, excess estrogen in the body, which we will all have because of pollution, cosmetics, fragrances, all of these xenoestrogens around us. But our liver has the job of metabolizing excess estrogen. But now what if your liver has micronutrient deficiencies? We don't have the right CoQ10. We have low levels of vitamin D3 in our body. We have low micronutrients of copper, sulfur, boron, selenium, and all of those things. Your liver doesn't have the ability to metabolize estrogen. So this estrogen now gets passed on to your gut. Now, let's say you have a gut problem, like 1 in 2 to 3 people have a gut problem. They either suffer from bloating, acidity, constipation, dysbiosis, SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You have candida. You have all these issues with your gut. You have a microbiome. It has good bacteria and bad bacteria. All is well when the good bacteria and bad bacteria are in the right quantities. The problem is when the bad bacteria grows more than the good bacteria. Now that traps gas, you have bloating, it leads to a leaky gut syndrome, which is why it can also lead to autoimmune conditions. And yes, excess estrogen is also a risk factor for autoimmune condition in women. Now, coming back to that, let's say you're constipated. If you're constipated, you cannot get rid of excess estrogen, which has now been passed to your gut for elimination. So the longer you're holding that stool in, you're holding estrogen in. Estrogen is backed back into your system. And that's how you have excess estrogen and a vicious cycle of estrogen in your body at all times. So you may try to be clean for a few days in the week, and then the weekend, you just dump alcohol into your system. You're sleep deprived, you're eating crap. That one day of your bad weekend can negate the 5 good days that you do. So it's a vicious cycle. You never get out of the vicious cycle at all. And that's where the liver comes in. How do you improve the health of your liver? So number one, your diet, eating for your liver, making sure your liver's clean. You know, a lot of people say, oh, look, I drink only on the weekend. I have 5 drinks, but I don't drink during the week. By the time you've had those 5 drinks, by the time your liver cleans that alcohol out of your system, it's your next weekend and you're having your next 5 drinks. So you see, you really never get out of it. So sometimes if you want to make that change, yep, we have to give up alcohol for a while. We have to cut down on white sugar and white refined flours and all these junk and processed foods that's messing up the liver and making it sluggish. Because the more sluggish your liver is, the more estrogen you're going to have in your system. So now that you understand the importance of your liver, we will talk about particular foods. Let's move to the next one. So every time you're constipated, remember this. The dull look you have on your face, the dark pigmentation happening in your skin, the frizzy or the scanty hair that you have, or the thinning of hair that you have, the weakness that you feel in your muscles, your bones, all of that is because of your constipation. 1, constipation, 2, excess estrogen in your body, which is why it's impossible for you to be at a great weight when you're constipated. You can be thin, but with a lot of body fat. That's how it is. So constipation, the health of your gut, your liver is all interconnected with your hormonal balance. Now we come to xenoestrogens. What are these? These are man-made chemicals that mimic estrogen. It is dangerous for us. It is absolutely dangerous, which is why we tell people, please read the ingredients on everything that goes into your system or onto your system. Today, you can pick up a bottle of shampoo, a perfume, a makeup kit, whatever it is, for guys and girls. This is not just for women. And you have a list of ingredients that are so fine that you have to buy a magnifying glass. And you will not even understand most words, parabens, sulfates, fragrance, all of these things, xenoestrogens that get into your system. What you put on your skin gets absorbed into your system. Now it mimics estrogen, which is actually really bad, like an ER-positive breast cancer is an estrogen, it's an estrogen positive cancer, which means you have excess estrogen in your system that's driven you to have that cancer. And that's why your doctors will put you on tamoxifens and XYZ to suppress estrogen completely because there's too much of estrogen. So one way is being conscious about what you are putting on your face, your skin, everywhere else. You're drinking water out of plastic bottles all the time, more xenoestrogens going into your system. Once in a while, it's fine. You're in a place where your only option is a plastic bottle of water. I'm not talking about every single day. You got to be moving to copper, stainless steel, glass, your vessels, everything. You cannot store food in plastic. Your children's tiffin boxes have to be stainless steel. Maybe not glass, it's not safe for them, but you cannot use plastic. Even storing food in plastic in a fridge is bad for you. Microwaving food in plastic is one of the worst things that you can ever do. All of these are xenoestrogens that are getting into your system. All of these things. In today's world, the only government that has given enough of importance to this is the Malaysian government. They have a whole list of all the xenoestrogens with the brands involved, from fragrances to toothpaste to creams, and some of the best brands that you pay a lot of money for are filled with all of these chemicals. All of them. That is creating a huge problem. So when we have patients of cancer with us, we don't just change their food plans. We don't just change exercise, sleep, emotional wellness. We are also helping them to select and change their cosmetics. And you don't have to be deprived of your cosmetics. There are a lot of brands that are doing it without parabens, doing it without sulfates, ethical, chemical-free, xenoestrogen-free products. And that's something that you want to consider if you are struggling with your weight or estrogen problems. So these chemicals that you put into your system gets stored into your fat cells. And then what happens is once they're stored into your fat cells, it affects the ability of your fat cells to let go of excessive estrogen. So now your body's holding on to estrogen. And that's how you have a vicious cycle of estrogen in your system. So now let's move to the next level, which is your period cycle. So some young girls, women, all of that stuff who have very low levels of progesterone, your doctors will put you on progesterone to rebalance your hormones. Some of you get onto oral contraceptives, which in the long run create more problems. But now you see the importance of addressing your chronic stress if that's your problem. Now, going back to chronic stress, because you're chronically stressed, you can't sleep. Because you can't sleep, you have a hormonal imbalance again, because your hormones get balanced while you sleep. Now you wake up tired and lethargic with a hormonal imbalance, which means your leptin, which is your satiety hormone, is going to be suppressed. And your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, is going to keep you hungry throughout the day. You're not going to be craving an apple. You're not going to be craving a handful of nuts. You're going to be craving sugar and carbohydrates, because that's what gives the quickest form of energy to your brain. And your brain wants energy. And that's how now your eating habits get affected. So you see, you become in a vicious cycle because of chronic stress. Sleep is affected. Sleep is affected. Your food is affected. Your food is affected. Your exercise is affected. You're so lethargic and irritable that you don't want to work out. So it sounds like a lot, but the solution is simple. We've got to break that vicious cycle somewhere. And it starts with balancing your hormones, because you can't use willpower in this game. You can win for a week, 2 weeks. I'll shut off sugar. I'll do this. I'll do that. And you go back to it because you're fighting chemical messengers. You can't fight chemical messengers. You balance them so that they start communicating the right instructions. Right instructions, harmony. Wrong instructions, disharmony. So coming back to what can we do from a food angle? Okay, stress, we already know there are master classes, there are techniques to look at all of those things. We already know the importance of exercise to keep blood circulation more. You need blood to your liver for it to function the right way, to your kidney, for your bowel movement. Exercise is important. Sleep, we've already established in previous master classes, the impact of sleep on your hormones. Sleep-deprived, hormonal imbalance. Deep quality sleep, hormonal balance. Everything changes. Emotional wellness, we just spoke about stress. Let's move straight into food. And this is where your diet comes in. And this is where fad diets fail. Because a lot of fad diets to give you that 3 to 4 kilos of weight loss will deprive you of certain food groups where obviously you cut out fruits from your diet, you cut out carbs completely, you are going to lose weight. What happens when you start to eat them? What happens when you cut off all fruits and you're deprived of micronutrients that your liver needs to metabolize estrogen? So when it comes to your diet, you need quality protein, period. If you are deficient in protein, you have a problem. If you're eating too much of protein, you have a problem. So usually it's 0.8 grams to 1 gram per kilo of your body weight. So if I weigh 60 grams of protein, if my goal is to be an athlete and building muscle, maybe I'll go to 1.5 grams. But the basic is 0.8 to 1 gram per kilo of your body weight. That's what we need to do. Plenty of garlic and onions. If you're not Jane, put a lot of onions in your food, put a lot of garlic in your food. This is great for your gut health. This is great for your overall hormonal balance. Okay, raw garlic, fabulous. Raw onion, fabulous. Great prebiotics. Sometimes onion and garlic may make you acidic. Don't have it. There are other foods that we're going to talk about. If you're Jane, don't feel bad. You don't have to have that. There are other foods that we're going to talk about. B complex. I cannot stress on the importance of having your B vitamins. Your B vitamins is a spectrum of vitamins, from a B1 to a B2 right up to a B12. Each of them have various functions. If you are low in B12, you have compromised function in the human body. If you're low in B5 or B1 or B6, you have compromise in your overall functioning. Like B6 is a vitamin that is important for fat metabolism. So if you're deficient in vitamin B6, no matter how much you exercise or what you do, you don't have the micronutrient the body needs to metabolize fat. So taking a B complex or eating foods which are rich in all of your B vitamins, and that's why sometimes when people come to us, we make them check their levels and they're very low on B12. So either we put them on a B12 or we put them on a B complex vitamin so they get all the micronutrients as per the RDA, which is your recommended daily allowance, into your body. Then cruciferous vegetables. We've done a whole master class on this. What are your cruciferous vegetables? Your broccoli, your kale, your cabbage, your cauliflower, your radish. All of these things are crucifers, rich in sulforaphane. Magic food when it comes to cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, you name it. If you're a thyroid patient, yes, you can eat it, but it's got to be in cooked form. You can't have it raw. And I do not recommend it raw. Very, very hard for your digestive system to break it down. So you can be a thyroid patient, unless, of course, you're allergic to it, don't have it. Some people have sulfur allergies. For everyone else, try to have one cruciferous vegetable every day. So today I did cabbage. Tomorrow I'll do kale. Day after I'll do broccoli. then I may do cauliflower, then I may do radish. But try to have a portion of a cruciferous vegetable every single day. For some patients who have estrogen dominance, we even use a supplement called DIM. So DIM is an extract of your crucifers. It could be an extract of Brussels sprouts, broccoli, kale, all of that stuff in a pill form. We use this for our cancer patients. We also use it for people who are struggling with belly fat, for people who are struggling with estrogen dominance. Now, you've got to remember this. The more belly fat you have, the more estrogen dominance you have. At the same time, the more estrogen you have, the more belly fat you will also have. It's a vicious cycle. So if you carry extra abdominal fat, it's not about you not being accepted or being accepted. It's not okay for the human physiology. Excess body fat should be lost. I'm not saying you gotta have a six-pack. I'm not saying you gotta have a size 0 figure. You can be pleasantly plump. But if you are putting on a lot of belly fat, this is what's happening in your body. So that's why I'm telling you about that, okay? Now, your liver, the more you help your liver cleanse, the better it is going to be for you to metabolize estrogen. So for that, we need glutathione. Glutathione-rich foods, I'm going to read out again to you. Those are all of your crucifers, your vitamin C's that are found in your citrus fruits, milk thistle, dandelion root. You can find these in ready-made teas. Okay, we created a tea, dandelion root, a little bit of ginger, a little bit of milk thistle, mainly for your liver health, because as our patients go through heavy medication and chemo, their livers get compromised. So you have a simple tea that doesn't have caffeine in it that can help you with this. Or you get milk thistle supplements or whatever it is. But these are some things that you use to cleanse your liver. Now, the foods that help you with glutathione, your overall liver, and your overall hormonal balance. Cruciferous vegetables that we spoke about, flax seeds. Flax seeds are therapeutic. Grind them, don't roast them. Grind them into a powder. You can store it in an airtight container in your fridge for 4 to 5 days. Okay, a tablespoon in your salads and your food. There's no need to heat flax seeds because it will get denatured. Seed cycling is very powerful for hormonal balance. That's a whole different topic. I've done a video on it. I'm going to ask Tina to send that across to you all on seed cycling. How you do your seed cycling at the start of your periods, through your periods, and at the end of your periods. Proteins like your lentils, your eggs, your lean meats, your lean fish, your lean chicken, all of that stuff, or your paneers, your tofus, veg sources of protein or non-veg, doesn't matter. If you supplement it on a whey protein, make sure it's a good quality protein, but you need that. Mushrooms, especially the shiitake mushrooms, very, very powerful for your hormonal balance. Carrots and cucumbers, one of the most simple vegetables. We can cut them raw, have them as a salad before our meals, great for your hormonal balance. Avocado as well. All fruits from the berry family. So whether it's blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, doesn't matter. The entire berry family are rich in flavonoids and polyphenols that help you with hormonal balance. Beetroot, fantastic. What a beautiful, fantastic food. But people think beetroot makes them fat. No, it doesn't make you fat. Your hormonal imbalance makes you fat. We spoke about dandelion root and, of course, my favorite, dark chocolate. 75 to 80% and above. Dark chocolate is great for you. I prefer to do raw cacao because today, even in the 80% dark chocolates, there are ingredients that you wouldn't want to put into your system. Okay, so I get raw cacao nibs, a tablespoon every single day. In fact, if any women out there or young girls have painful PMS or problems with their periods, try this. Take a teaspoon every single day of either raw cacao powder, or you can take 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of raw cacao nibs and consume it. The raw cacao powder, mix with water and drink it every single day for at least 2 months to find how powerful the polyphenols in raw cacao are for your hormonal balance. So so that's what we looked at. We looked at stress, we looked at your liver, we looked at xenoestrogens from your cosmetics and everything else. And of course, we touched upon your sleep, emotional wellness, which is related to your stress, and your exercise. Yoga plays a beautiful role in balancing hormones because there's a coordination of your breath and your movement. So practicing yoga. If you can't practice yoga, at least master the art of a Surya Namaskar. Because with a Surya Namaskar, you've actually touched upon every single joint and muscle in your body. Start off with 1 whole one in a day, 2, 3, 4. So for me, it's a religion. 6 every single day, doesn't matter unless I'm sick. I will do 6 Surya Namaskars every single day. The plan is to build up 1 more every week, 2 more every week. I don't know. But the point is, do it. So now that you understand, okay, this is simplicity. Complication is everything when you don't look at simplicity. So the other side of complication would be birth control pills, bioidentical hormones, which, don't get me wrong, some people genuinely need it, but it cannot be your prescription if your root cause is your liver, xenoestrogens, and stress. So these are the first fundamentals that you get right. And I can guarantee you, as you start to work on each of these fundamentals, your hormones are automatically going to start getting balanced. And it's the same thing with men. Men have more estrogen and they have less testosterone. If you have less testosterone as a man or a woman, it's very difficult to build muscle. And because you cannot build muscle, you don't have metabolic power. The more muscle you have, lean muscle, the more metabolic power you have. Even while you're sitting and sleeping, your body has to burn calories to maintain and hold muscle in its place. That is what a high and perfect metabolism is. That's why weight-bearing exercise, building muscle, men and women, is extremely important to burn fat. It is extremely important. The more muscle you have, the less fat you have. Your scale weight may go up because muscle carries weight, but your fat percentage will come down, and that is where the magic is. So it is my humble request to women out there and men. Okay, you may be happy, you may have everything, everyone accepts you, that's all great. But please understand what is happening at a physiological level. If you are carrying excess body fat, it is affecting your hormones. And because it's affecting your hormones, it is affecting communication in your body. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, breathe deep. And remember, you care, it's all about you. Listen very carefully to these points, reflect on your life right now. Out of all these things we spoke about today, where can I improve? And start with the fundamentals. The fundamentals is simplicity. Everything else is complication. And even if you select complication, it will never work if the fundamentals are not in place. The right fundamentals and consistency.